Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and savages of all kind. We are back for another episode of the Refined Savage podcast. Speaking of Vikings, let's talk about Viking coffee. Evan Armstrong makes the best coffee in the world. I keep telling you guys this, and people are starting to listen, which is kind of cool. So, if you guys were at our Highlander, you met Evan. He was handing out free cold brew coffee all day, and I know he did a killing selling coffee. People love this stuff. You got to give him a try. VikingCoffeeCo.com. He's one of our oldest sponsors. Use the code VikingCoffee10 at checkout. Check out our Old Man Strength blend. It is my personal favorite, of course. Cerberus Strength. Cerberus, the good folks at Cerberus, they are neck deep in the strongman world. These guys, if you go to a strongman competition, you're going to see Cerberus gear everywhere, from t-shirts to knee sleeves to elbow sleeves, belts, wraps, everything. And they sell all that stuff on the website. They also sell smelling salts and sandbags and tacky and just everything you could possibly need for your strength and conditioning journey. Cerberus-strength.us. They are the best in the business, guys. And as an ex-Highland Games professional, I know what I'm talking about. They can help you with your Highland Games journey. Check out their knee sleeves. Check out their indoor throwing bags. Check out their tacky. Awesome stuff. Use the code REFINEDSAVAGE10 at checkout for 10% off. Stay Classy Meats. Love me some Stay Classy Meats. I am fueled 100% on meat right now. And ever since June, it's been 100% on Stay Classy Meats. Great stuff. It fuels my workouts. It fuels me for the day. I am living high on the hog, so to speak, eating Stay Classy Meats. From bison steaks to bacon to just every kind of steak you could imagine, and chicken fillets, and it's just the best. Let me tell you. All their animals are raised on small batch farms. They know where these animals are. I mean, they can go out and see them. No hormones, raised on gorgeous, tasty Montana grass and fresh mountain streams. That makes a difference in how these animals taste when you eat their faces. Great stuff, I'm telling you. I go to jiu-jitsu class after eating a Stay Classy meat steak and just want to choke people to death. And it works. I'm telling you, good stuff. It's better than steroids. Get on it. StayClassyMeats.com. Use the code SAVAGE at checkout for 10% off. Serious Steel. Serious Steel, aside from having the best equipment in the game, has the best customer service around. If you haven't dealt with them yet, that's a good thing. That means no mistakes have been made. But if you do have to deal with them, fantastic humans that will take care of all your problems. Anything you need for your gym, whether it's a home gym, a CrossFit gym, a commercial gym, whatever you need, these guys have it. They are one-stop shopping for the strength athlete. Head on over to SeriousSteel.com and use the code SAVAGE at checkout for 10% off. Warrior CBD. Warrior CBD was originally created by MMA and jiu-jitsu fighters. These guys are neck deep in the fight world, and those guys get beat up worse than anybody. So they needed a product that could make them feel better, help with some injuries, help them sleep, relieve some anxiety. Hence, Warrior CBD was created. It's the best stuff around. I've tried lots and lots of CBD oil. This is the best stuff I've ever tried. I promise you. That's why I was the one who contacted them about becoming sponsors on the show. WarriorCBDofficial.com. Use the code WARRIOR20 off at checkout to get the best shit in the game. Finally today, let's talk about Iron and Stone Strength. Eric up there running his gym in the Buffalo area is killing it, and his gear is awesome. They have hats, shirts, sweatshirts, sweatpants, anything you could possibly want, and the gear looks sharp. It's not some janky ass looking muscle guy on the shirt. They're nice shirts you won't be embarrassed to wear out in public, and that is important to me. So check them out, ironandstonestrength.com. Use the code REFINEDSAVAGE at checkout for 20% off. Today on the show, the episode everyone has been waiting for. It's been a year in the making. I sat down at the University of Ashland with a guy who's mentioned on this show more than I am myself, the Jud Logan. And we talked about his incredible, amazing, tragic, wild year that he's been through. If you guys don't know the story, you're about to hear one of the most amazing stories I have ever heard myself. And for those of you who think you know the story, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff in this interview that will amaze you and shock you like it did me. Just an incredible story. I don't know why someone hasn't picked this up for a documentary yet. Sit back, enjoy this. I think we talked for about an hour and a half, and it was just an eye-opening experience. I think you're going to love this. Hey, share this episode. It's not just for the show. Share it for Jud. Let his story get out. People need to hear it. I think people are going to love it. All right, guys, get after it. We'll see you at the end. All right. Where should we start?
Well, I don't know where we left off.
So it's been a year and a month and a half, I think, since the last time I was down here. And the last time we were down here, you were preparing. You were in like block one of like getting your diet on point and doing like 10-minute walks a day after meals, getting ready to break the world record at 60 years old in the hammer throw.
Correct. And that was 100% the focus. We knew we had a great team coming back. We knew we had a team that could contend for a national title. So I knew that it was going to be an exciting year. The fact that the kids were excited that they were going to get to see me throw at the end of summer after I turned 60. And when the preparation then went from those 10-minute walks, went to 20-minute walks, and I was around November, December in probably better shape at 60 than I was at 55 when I broke the world records at 55. Yeah. Now, I got into incredible shape at age 50 because that was going to be the first foray into the Masters world, and I wanted to make a splash.
Right.
And so, but I was really happy with that preparation. I was happy with looking around and watching my throws group and watching guys like Miles Pringle and Ernie Clark do his job, Abby with the jumpers and Sussman with the distance runners. And I just felt like this is a team that has a chance to be special, and that I knew that it was going to be a year that was, just filled with a lot of things that were going to be like trademarks in our program for years to come. The one we didn't count on was the hospital visit in February that kind of changed everything from my perspective. But the greatest thing about that, and I don't know where you want to start, but
wherever. We'll just talk.
Yeah. That for some reason seemed to narrow the focus on the kids, on what their goals were. And the biggest thing is right around February, beginning of February, we went to the Grand Valley Big Meet, and I barely got up out of my chair. I was just exhausted.
Yeah.
6-hour drive up there, long season, kids are doing well. I'm wearing a Whoop band on my wrist. My heart rate's going anywhere from 140 all the way up to 175 while my kids are competing. I was jacked.
But you were getting jacked.
I was getting jacked. Mm-hmm. But then I would be like, I need to go sit down. And I go sit down, and it's just like we were driving home from that Grand Valley Big Meet, and I turned to Elijah Talk, and I said, "You need to drive." And he goes, "What? You've never given up the wheel in 25 years."
Right.
I go, "Yeah, I just feel off." So we stopped at Cabela's, and we, it was like 10 o'clock at night. We're at Cabela's, the wind's whipping 50 miles an hour, and I said, we're going in, we're taking a picture with the big bear out front. Right. So we went and took this great picture, and I sat in the front seat, and I got home that night, and I told my wife that I turned the keys over, and she's just like, what?
Yeah.
It just wasn't me.
Right.
I was, but when you're a head coach that's 59 years old, that's been doing this for 25 years, that's training for a world record, you can write a lot of stuff off as you're just pushing the envelope. Mm-hmm. And this is what it's going to take to break world records. And you watch a video of David Goggins and he's just go, 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 and you're just like, come on, pussy.
He's done that to me so many times.
Right? Makes you feel like a piece of shit.
Yep.
So
my wife hates him because he does that to me.
So I'm like, push on. And then I remember one night I took my shirt off and my wife's like, ugh. I'm like, what? She goes, you got some bruising. And I'm like, where? And she shows me, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I was doing some RPR stuff to myself in my last workout. Right. Again, I wrote it off. Mm-hmm. I'd never bruised before like that in RPR. Even when Cal Dietz and J.L. Holdsworth worked on me, I didn't bruise like that.
Yeah.
And then I got a big one. Like in my right abdominal oblique area. I called my daughter, who's a nurse in oncology, mm-hmm. and she's like, Dad, you need to go get a blood test. So this is the end of February, and so I go to the local place, get a blood test, and 2 hours later they call me and they said, go straight to the hospital.
Wow.
Your platelets are at 12,000, which is dangerously low. Normal is 150 to 400,000. And I'm like, what could have caused this, or whatever. But explain the bruising,
right?
Explain the fatigue. So I went there, and they looked at me and they said, we can't treat you here. We're going to get you up to University Hospital. So they let my wife and I drive ourselves up to the hospital.
Right.
We got a hotel room because we didn't have a room yet. 4 a.m, they're like, your room's ready. So come on over.
Yeah.
So 4 o'clock in the morning, we left the hotel, went in, checked in, met with the doctors, and they were like, we've done some preliminary tests. We believe you have ITP. ITP, I used to know what everything stood for, but it's basically a blood disorder that is very treatable. Mm-hmm. My platelets were now down to 8,000, from 12,000 to 8,000. They were still dropping. So they started treating me with IVs of things that are to platelets and to treat this disease, and the doctors came in and they were great. UH was great, and they said 95% ITP. We're going to send your blood off take 3 days to get the results. It's called a blood flow cytometry. We just want to make sure we're going to roll out the big guy. Rule out the big guys, mm-hmm. But all of your other blood markers are so good, we really don't think it can be anything else. And so my daughter came up. She was on maternity leave. My daughter Jenna came up from Virginia, and she was in the hospital room with me, and the doctor walked in, and I could just tell he was looking straight down at his feet. And I go, shit. Yeah. And he goes, Mr. Logan, I'm really sorry. The results of your test just came back. You have B-cell ALL, which is a form of leukemia. And my daughter's like, you said B-cell, right? And he goes, yes. And she goes, okay, good. Like, there's worse. There's myeloma and some other forms of leukemia that are not as treatable.
Yeah.
And so
it's always good to have that nurse next to you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, I read something a long time ago, and then my daughter told me the exact same thing, is that patients hear less than 20% of what a doctor says in a consultation.
Yeah. Because
the doctor will say one word that trips you, and then your mind goes racing. You don't hear what they say for the next 90 seconds. So to have Jenna here on maternity leave and able to stay, for quite a long time in the beginning things was a godsend.
Yeah.
And, so here we are. We're in the hospital. My son Nate's there. His wife Cheryl's there. Jenna's there. Jill's there. Kirsten's on FaceTime. And now we've got to figure out what's the next step. So my daughter, Jenna, called her boss in Virginia. They're a very good oncology hospital. And he said, we need to get him over to Cleveland Clinic. That's where he did his fellowship. He goes, I want him specifically with Dr. Caraway, Dr. Hetty Caraway at the Cleveland Clinic. And so they, within 24 hours, I was transferred to Cleveland Clinic. I was on the leukemia floor, and I met my team.
Yeah.
So
I was in that weird coconut telegraph between Jenna and, so my wife and Jenna have the same really good friend.
Yes.
So Jenna's telling Rachel. Rachel is freaking out, talking to Aaron. They're both working in oncology at the time, too. So now I'm getting this information, like, almost as it's happening.
And it's not even out to the public yet.
Right. So when Rachel starts talking about the bruising and that you were going to the hospital with the bruising, I just looked on the wife, on Aaron's face, and I'm like, what? And she went to that right away. Like, she goes, that isn't good. You know, this is what it could be. And I was like, Jesus Christ, you know. So we were getting that. And then we're sitting there saying, okay, well, we're not going to say anything. We'll just shut up about this because, you know, Hayden's in the house and Hayden loves you. And it's like, all right, we're not going to say anything. We'll, you know. But yeah, that was a pretty strange event that we have this weird link up between the girls that, you know, that this was going on.
So I had to make some choices. You know, I'm in the hospital. I've just been told that I have cancer.
Yeah.
You know, so to me, that's such a more dramatic word than B-cell ALL. Like B-cell ALL, I can talk about that. It's really hard for me to say the word cancer.
Yeah.
I have had very few people in my life that I've connected to that have had, probably less than 5 people in my life that I knew either had cancer or had a loved one going through cancer. In the last 6 months, I now probably know over 100.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you're kidding me. I never knew that about your mom. I never knew that about your dad. I never knew that about you.
It's touched everybody.
Mm-hmm. And so I was oblivious to that. And so the athlete in me kicked in first.
Right.
So the athlete in me first kicks in and says, okay, they're talking about a lot of chemotherapy. They're talking about nausea. They're talking about mouth sores. They're talking about blood counts dropping. They're talking about fatigue. They're talking about being in the hospital initially for at least a month. So the athlete in me kicks in and says, all right, that's the challenge. My first phrase that I put together, I wrote down in my phone was, I'm built for this, right? So I look at anyone else in my family, my wife, my sons, my daughters, my mom, my dad, my sisters, my brothers. There's no one in the Logan family built for this challenge more than me.
Sure.
It's like, it's not that that's why I was selected, but if there's somebody in our family that was going to be able to rise to that challenge and meet it head on, it was me. So, number one, on the back of our new national championship rings that we're getting here late in the football season, we'll do a big celebration. On the back of the rings, it says "Built for this."
Yeah.
Because it paralleled our team.
Yeah.
Our team was built for a national championship. That doesn't mean you're going to win it.
Yeah.
This doesn't mean just because I'm built for this challenge, there's a lot of people in the world tougher than me that have lost this challenge. It's just that I understand small intermediate goals, and I understand when they say this is your first block. I go, oh, I love that.
Right.
I love that language. Yep. So I'm about to meet the leukemia guru, Dr. Hetty Caraway. She's coming in. She comes in with her fellow, her nurse practitioner, the nurse, and says, this is Sam Bugatti, and she is in charge of clinical trials and would do all your scheduling, and we want to get you in this clinical trial. You have to be under the age of 60, and you have to pass the Philadelphia chromosome test. Now, if you fail it, it doesn't mean that we won't still treat you. It's just that it'd be better if we could get you in this clinical trial. Mm-hmm. So I pass whatever the Philadelphia chromosome test is. I'm 59.
Right.
They accept me into the trial. And so Dr. Caraway, this is the shining star of the Cleveland Clinic. She's standing in my room, and she says to me, okay, let me explain how this is going to work. And I put my hand up, and I said, hold on. And she gets this horrified look on her face. And I said, can I first tell you how it has to be? And then you can tell me how it's going to be.
Okay.
And what an asshole move, right? I'm talking to one of the top leukemia specialists in the world, and I'm telling her, stop, before you telling me anything,
right.
I have to tell you something. And I looked right at her and I said, look, if this is going to work, and it will, as of this moment right now, you are my head coach. And she just looked at me and she got it instantly.
Yeah.
I said, I am back in athlete mode.
Yeah.
And I need a coach.
Yeah.
I need someone that knows more than what I know, and that someone like an Al Schotterman who I can believe in.
Who you'll do 20 rep snatches for.
That's right. And I looked at her and I said, look, all you have to do is be my head coach. You need to motivate me. You need to educate me. And you need to give me small, intermediate goals. You can tell me what the long-term process is,
right?
But I want to know 4 weeks at a time or 6 weeks at a time, just as if I was training. And we got to start stacking these blocks together. And every goal you give me, trust me, I will beat you.
Right.
I will exceed your expectations. I know you don't know me, but I will exceed your expectations. You tell me what to do, and let's get better as a team. She loved it.
Yeah.
She loved it.
And sure she very rarely hears that.
No, never.
Yeah.
She's never heard anyone tell her this is how it has to be.
Right.
This is how I need to be treated. And so once she started putting that into those types of terms, this is going to be your first chemo. It's going to be 6 weeks. We're going to give you Donarubicin. We're going to give you vincristine. These are chemos that
you're going to learn about.
That I'm going to learn about.
No idea what they are. Right.
And I made one more promise to her. I said, you know what? If I could change one thing as a coach, it would be I would take the internet away from the athletes.
Were you Googling everything?
Nothing.
Okay.
That was my promise to her.
You were just going to listen whatever she said?
I was going to listen. I was going to hitch my wagon to her. And if there was anything else I needed to know beyond what she said, that was going to come from Jenna.
Yeah.
And that was going to come from her team at UVA. And I said, I'm not going to Google what everybody wants to Google. At 59 years old with B-cell ALL leukemia, what are the chances of survival?
Sure, yeah.
I didn't Google a single thing. To this day, 6 months into therapy, I haven't gone on the internet to research anything about B-cell ALL.
That goes back to the discipline you had as an athlete, though, because who can do that? You have to have that discipline to just say, I'm just going to, here's this infinite source of information, both good and bad. I'm just going to stay away from it entirely, though, and just listen to my coach.
1 month later, I was sitting in the lounge by myself. I finally convinced my wife to go home for a day. She was in the hospital with me the first 12 days that I was there. Slept on a couch, pulls out of a chair in the room, and she's exhausted. And so I finally convinced her to go home. So I'm sitting down in the lounge. I've got my IV pole. I've got my drip going. And I hear these two patients talking, and they're like, yeah, I just read about this study in Malaysia. They're using this special herb for treating leukemia. And, initially a couple people died on it, but now they think they've got it figured out. She goes, I haven't read the Malaysian one, but there's places in Mexico where you can go get stem cell treat. And I'm just like, see, this is why medicine doesn't work for most people.
Yeah.
They have no belief in their team. You're in the frickin' Cleveland Clinic.
Yeah.
Right? It's like training with Bondarchuk.
Yep.
Right? You go, you believe, you hitch your wagon to these people, or get the hell out.
Yep. They're bringing sheiks over from the Middle East.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. So Dr. Caraway and I got off on the right foot, and we started chemo. And the cool thing was they told me you're going to be in the hospital for 28 days. 15 days in, the doctors come in and they said, you're having no side effects, you have no nausea, you have no mouth sores, your counts are staying up, we're going to send you home.
Yeah.
Okay? So they're going to send me home, and during those 15 days that I was in there, where there was no chance of me getting out, my team left for the indoor NCAA championships.
Right. How long before you officially announced it to them? I remember it happening, but I don't, because I'm sure the kids were freaked out why you weren't there.
I told the kids that I had ITP, and that they were still trying to figure out why my platelets won't come up. I told no one on the team that I had leukemia. I didn't want that let's go win one for the Gipper,
Sure.
and have all these kids that trained, some of them 3, 4, 5 years for this moment, now go out there with this gigantic chip on their shoulder and try to do something special for me, right?
Right.
So I lied to them.
Yeah.
I said, I'll tell them when they get back. So Ernie Clark, associate head coach, which was weird that I decided to make him associate head coach the year before. It all came together, and he did a magnificent job and basically said, look, here's Jud's message. He's not FaceTiming in to give you guys a rah-rah message. He just doesn't want to let's win one for the Gipper. He wants you guys to do what you've done all year round, and he wants you to have fun and enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
And, they just started stacking up points. And I remember, Nick Zach, I recruited out of Brunswick, 175 pounds out of high school. No one would touch him. He threw the weight 70 feet.
Wow.
Threw the discus 170. Threw the shot put 57. But no one would touch him. 5'11", 175 pounds.
Wow. Now
is a sophomore, redshirt sophomore. He is 5'11", 241 pounds.
Right.
With a 38-inch vertical jump. One of the most athletic kids I've ever had.
Yeah.
There's a reason he threw 70 feet in high school. He's a fast twitch machine.
Yeah.
So everybody thinks because we won the national championship by 1 point that it was the 4x4.
Right.
That was the icing on the cake.
Mm-hmm.
In round 6, Nick Zach went from 7th to 3rd with a 2-foot lifetime best in the weight throw.
Wow.
Those points right there gave us a chance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because Brent Fairbanks was already on his points. Alex Hill was already on his points. And now we could start to rely on Miles Pringle in the 400, Miles Pringle in the high jump. We had lost Trevor Bassett, who ends up becoming the NCAA high point man outdoors at the outdoor championships in the sprints and hurdles. He tries to warm up and can't go. He's been out for 3 weeks with a hamstring.
Yeah.
He's ranked number 2 in the country.
I remember. Fanley was trying to get him back.
Yes.
I remember him talking about that on the podcast. He was coming up to try to do some miracle work on him.
Yeah, and he really did.
Yeah.
And Trevor was just like, I can't. Ernie says he can't push.
Yeah.
And so everyone's like, well, Ashland's dead in the water without Bassett.
Yeah.
Because he was scheduled to score about 10, 11 points.
Yeah, that's huge.
So now it comes down to the very last event of the meet. I'm in the Cleveland Clinic, watching on the iPad, streaming. My wife and I, 10 o'clock at night, it's time for the 4x4. And so we're in one of the early heats, and for us to have a shot to win, we have to win our heat. The anchor leg is a true freshman. It comes down to him and Grand Valley.
Grand Valley's always a powerhouse.
Always a powerhouse. Yep. At the finish line, our guy leans, dives, falls, and we comes up and we beat Grand Valley by .01.
Wow.
Now, there's 2 more heats to go. We've already been told that if we finish 5th or better, because the team ahead of us didn't have a 4x4.
Okay.
If we finish 5th or better, we're going to win by a national, but we're going to win by 1 point. If we finish 6th, we're going to tie. If we finish 7th, we're going to lose. So we have the fastest time, but there's 2 heats of 4 teams to go.
Right.
The next heat runs, and nobody beats our time. And I just start bawling.
Yeah.
And my wife's like, why are you crying? I go, we're national champions. She goes, what do you mean? I go, we have the fastest time. There's only 4 teams left.
Right.
We can't finish worse than 5th.
Right.
We're 5th, which means we're national champions. And that hot heat, of course, got hot. And everybody beat our time.
Yeah.
We were 5th, and we won by 1 point.
Right. Wow.
And, so there I am in the hospital. And
that's amazing.
Watching this thing, and I'm going crazy at 11 o'clock at night. I'm FaceTiming Ernie.
Yeah.
They kept it on the whole time. The kids are putting their T-shirts on. There's swag with the hats that you see at every championship.
Yep.
The confetti cannon. All this stuff that we've been second 3 times.
Yeah.
We've been third 5 times. We've been fourth 8 times. And we're sitting there watching all these teams, and you hear that confetti cannon, and you just flinch. Like, man, if we had had so-and-so who transferred, if we could have had so-and-so who flunked out of school, if we could have done a little bit better here in the weight throw, if we wouldn't have no-heighted, all these things add up to the point where you realize, here's the bottom line. I don't care who you are. Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, it's really freaking hard to win a national title. Yeah. It is really freaking hard to win. Right?
So many moving parts and pieces. And
so crazy.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, we win, and then Tuesday the doctor comes in the hospital, and I've got the national championship trophy there. And he goes, well, that's good news. Let me give you better news. We're going to send you home. And I go, I thought I was going to be in here 30 days. They go, yeah, you're doing too well. We need you out of here.
Yeah.
We need you to do this outpatient. We need you to come up here once a week, get your chemo, and then go to Medina once a week and get a blood test. The rest of that, I just need you at home, but I need you resting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Right.
So now my team gets back from the national championships. We've got a short turnaround, and I selected a guy by the name of Jim Toth, Cleveland kid, who just got into officer candidate training school. To announce to the team, I had him and Natalie come over, and I told them, okay, I don't have ITP.
Mm-hmm.
I have leukemia.
Right.
Jim, I need you to talk to the team. I can't come up because everyone's going to want to come see me. Everyone's going to come hug me.
Yep.
And I
can't have any of that.
I can't have any of that. At least for not the next 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
So luckily, the team was leaving the next day for their spring trip. We had fundraised for this trip. They were going on buses. They were going down south. And everybody was going to be gone for 5 days. I'm like, beautiful.
Yeah.
Just rest and relax and recover. So, from what I heard, Jim did a magnificent job explaining to the team. Everybody was shocked.
Yeah.
And, I apologized for lying and not telling them sooner. And a lot of them came up to me and they go, we don't know how we reacted going into the NCAA championships, finding out within a 24 or 48 hour period before we competed that you had cancer.
Right.
So
these are young kids.
Exactly.
We're not dealing with 30-year-old people who can compartmentalize that stuff.
So, so there we are. And I'm off on this tangent, and the doctors are telling me, man, I wish I could just grab you and take you around from room to room. So they told me a couple things that I could do to get better. They said, number one, believe it or not, take care of your hygiene.
Mm-hmm.
Shower every day. Okay? You're not going to feel like it.
Right.
Take care of your hygiene. Shave. Do your normal routine.
Right.
Exercise. Nobody wants to exercise.
Yeah. So
I had my wife bring up my Sornex center mass dumbbells to the hospital room. They said, get out and walk. But I've got this IV pole. It's got wheels on it.
Right.
So I was doing 2 miles a day in the hospital.
Just around the hospital.
Just around the hospital. I'm down through floors I've never been at. There's this beautiful rooftop at Cleveland Clinic. I'm going all over the place. So my wife's walking with me. We're doing 2 miles.
Didn't you have like dinner up there with her one night or something?
Oh,
I remember seeing that on Jenna's
it's gorgeous
page.
And, I'm doing hammer curls and, stuff that I can do with a port in my chest. And she says, so hygiene, exercise, nutrition. Mm-hmm. You're going to lose your taste buds. You're not going to feel like eating. You got to keep your protein up. You got to keep your fats up. You got to keep your carbohydrates up. Mm-hmm. You need them all.
Right.
This is the time where I'm telling you 33, 33, 33 across the board.
Get them all in.
Get them all.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I realized was they were right. It'd be like 1 o'clock in the afternoon and I hadn't eaten lunch and I wasn't hungry at all. And then lunch would come and it didn't look that appetizing. And I would start eating and I'd go, oh, I was hungry.
Yeah.
Wow. I can feel the nutrition uploading into my body. So I started for breakfast, I'm ordering 3 egg omelets, bacon, hash browns, toast, Rice Krispies, banana, orange juice, coffee.
Yeah.
Because my body weight was falling dramatically. Because I was losing muscle mass.
Is this what happens to people?
No doubt about it.
They just let
the drugs that you're on are really good at killing cancer and really good at destroying muscle tissue.
Yeah.
Too bad there's no chemo that destroys fat.
Right.
Right? No. Chemo goes after muscle mass. Mm-hmm. And so I had gone in at about 266 pounds. My lowest, and it was shocking to me, was 241. Yeah. I was down to 241 in my second cycle of chemo. And I'm looking down, and I'm like, gosh, I don't even recognize my legs.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so I just started upping my exercise. That's when I started upping my calories, started upping my protein. And then all of a sudden, I settled in right at 252, 253, and that's where I've been the entire time.
Yeah.
So I've still lost a lot of muscle mass, which will come back when I have the opportunity to return to the weight room, which I will. OMS, man. Old man strength. It's going to come back hard, and it's going to come back fast. But in the meantime, I'm probably taking in close to 35 to 4,000 calories a day to offset the muscle sparing from being in a chemo cycle.
Yeah.
People won't or can't do that.
Sure.
You ever had the flu?
Yeah. You don't want to eat. You don't want to put anything down.
Luckily,
but you have to.
Luckily, I didn't have any of those symptoms. So I got the third one. I got the hygiene, I got the exercise, I got the nutrition. They said the fourth one, it's probably the most important. Some doctors put it at 90%. Some people put it at 50%. And that is your support system and your own belief in what you're doing. My support system was incredible, from my family to Kirsten and Jenna and Nathan and Cheryl and Winston, my Jenna's husband, my wife, and then my brothers and sisters. I had this like shell around me protecting me from people trying to get to me.
Yeah, sure.
Because one phone call for me to explain what I'm explaining to you, 40 minutes later, I'm lying in bed exhausted, and I've got back to one person.
Right.
So that's when Jenna started Caring Bridge. She was able to tell people would just text me like, hey man, you got to update me on how you're doing. I'd be like, caringbridge.com, moment of significance. And now
that was a huge help for everybody.
Unbelievable.
Huge help.
And my daughter is a very, very talented writer, and she puts everything into layman's terms with giving you just enough of the high-tech information to let you know how I'm doing. And what that allowed me to do is start to get back to the people I wanted to get back to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
That I called the Joe Pry at New Philadelphia, the best man at my wedding from Kent State. I got a hold of Brandon Lilly. Yeah. I got a hold of Bert Soren. I got a hold of Derek Woodsky. I got a hold of Joe Woodsky. I got a hold of the people that were my circle. Right? I got a hold of my circle, and I started giving them live updates because I could do it now, because I wasn't over. I mean, look, it's really cool to say I was getting 100 text messages a day.
Yeah.
But until you get 100 text messages a day, and you have to be a little bit of an asshole because you got to protect yourself. You have to insulate yourself. I remember seeing a TED Talk once, and this guy was saying, your life would change significantly in terms of your progress if you turned your phone on for the first time at noon, and then you gave yourself an hour to say, I'm going to now batch all my emails, get back to my text messages, turn it back off, and then turn it back on at 3, and then leave it on the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Could you imagine having a morning? I mean, I'm that guy.
Right.
I wake up, my alarm goes off, or now with this, I'm beating my alarm, which is cool.
Right.
I get up around 7:30 every morning, and I used to get up at 9.
Right. I remember we talked about that in the last podcast.
Yes. Yeah, so I get up at 7:30. And the first thing I do is I grab my phone, I go downstairs, and I'm like, okay, there's that notification, there's Instagram, there's Facebook, and then next thing you know, you find yourself in a rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, being able to insulate myself, and then now you throw in the next level of support outside my family, outside my inner circle. You start talking about the city of North Canton, where I grew up. You start talking about the 100 kids on my team. You start talking about the president of this university, the athletic director of this university. And they're all saying the same thing. We got you.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell us what you need. And I'm like, well, I need Elijah Talk to take a bigger role in this team because I'm not going to be able to travel as much as I'd like to. But my goal is I want to be with the team at the outdoor NCAA championships. And then you got the international ring. Okay, so I'm Sadiq and Litvinov and all these guys from across the world are reaching out to me via Facebook Messenger. And so I felt this incredible support. So I checked all the boxes. And they were easy for me, but I could see how they'd be very difficult for others.
Yeah, maybe their circle isn't quite as huge, but they get overwhelmed. You don't want to be, you think, oh, I'm being a dick, but I think everyone understood that, I think, like, when I sent you text message when it happened, I think I put in the text message, I don't expect you to get back to me.
Did.
Here's my well wishes, kick ass.
It was cathartic for you to write the words.
I had to.
Yep.
I had to do it.
Yep. And I love that.
Yeah.
And I felt that, and people would message me and say, "You're on my prayer list at our church," and I'd be like, "Oh man." And for me, that was a really, I hate to get into religion, but that was a very hard thing for me to grasp.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I've not been highly religious over the last 30 years of my life. I've not been to church much other than Easter and Christmas and that kind of stuff. So people are like, "I'm praying for you," and I'm like, "Thank you," because I'm not praying for myself.
Sure.
Okay?
Right.
I'm not an atheist.
Yeah.
Right? I've read the entire Bible when I was in high school and president of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. It's just I found it to be very fake for me to now start professing beliefs in that entity.
It's like the the convict who now finds God as soon as he's in prison.
Right. Finding religion.
Yeah.
And so, do I believe that God works in mysterious ways? 100%. People that have much stronger beliefs than me, people are like telling me, like, I felt the prayer warriors.
Mm-hmm.
And I believed that I accepted that energy, that chi, that aura, that positive.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. In worst case scenario, you're getting positive vibes from all these people.
I just didn't feel that I had a close enough relationship to ask for help.
Sure.
Now, if that were my son, my daughter, my wife,
different story.
Different story.
Yep.
But this is me.
Yeah.
Don't be fake.
Yeah.
Right? Don't be fake.
I get that 100%.
Yeah.
100% I can understand that.
So that's where I was. And so I got back into coaching, and outdoors, the weather was so bad in Northeast Ohio, we never had a chance to really show anyone how good we could be until we got to Texas.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. I hate that. I hate that our kids, it rained. We had 6 outdoor weekends where it rained 5 out of 6 on Friday and 4 out of 6 on Saturday.
My hometown is still underwater. Like there's the docks are all underwater, and the mayor was a state of emergency. It's still underwater, and we're now more like a drought. And we're still recovering from that. Hayden had one meet that was over 50 degrees.
Right.
The whole season. Yeah.
Same. So we go into the outdoor championships. We got a healthy Trevor Bassett.
Mm-hmm.
We got a healthy Miles Pringle. We've got a good throw squad. And we're ranked 6th in the nation. We can't get any higher because these other teams, the team that's going to win it is Angelo State. All right? They've got the number 1, 2, 3, and 5 ranked decathletes in the country.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, there's no way they can keep all 5 of those guys healthy and they're going to score all those points. 2 days into the outdoor national titles, they go 1, 2, 4, 7. And they're like, everyone goes, yeah, it's game over.
Right.
Angelo State has this. We go into the third day, we're down 30 points to Angelo State. 30. Alex Hill comes out ranked 13th in the discus, hasn't had any kind of wind, hasn't had any kind of solid weather all year.
Right.
Gets third.
Yeah.
Okay, all of a sudden Ashland picks up 6.
Can you imagine when you're in this cold weather climate, all of a sudden you just give some heat?
Oh, yeah.
Some heat and sun.
It was 90.
I feel great.
It was 90.
Right.
No ouchies.
Yeah.
So here we are. Alex Hill picks up 6 and we're supposed to get 0. We get to one of the sprints. The guy that they have is supposed to win it. False starts.
Wow.
So now, 16-point flip. They were supposed to get 10. We were supposed to get 0. We get 6. They get 0. Now that 30-point lead is down to 14.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Wow.
Now here's where the meat turned. We go to the 200 meters, and Miles Pringle has not been able to run a lot of 200s because of a hamstring issue, but he's already won the 400. National champion. Got a few points for us in the high jump. Now he's ranked 11th in the 200. He runs, time comes up, the rest of the heat runs, and he shows that he's 10th. Okay? Top 8 to finals.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
it was a good thought. He wasn't really supposed to score there, but it was a good thought. All of a sudden, it flashes on the board, DQ of place 9.
Okay.
Okay? Miles moves up to 9th. Still not in the finals.
Right.
The guy that got DQ'd, his coach protested that he was impinged by the guy that got 8th. They throw them both out.
Wow.
Guess who's in the finals?
Yeah.
Miles slides into the finals, gets in the finals, and gets 4th.
Wow.
Yeah, right? Now,
Jeez.
all of a sudden,
That's some major points.
5 points.
Yeah.
Now we've cut their lead down. We're going into the 4x4. All the scenarios are out there. To me, other than the hammer throw, 4x4 most exciting event in track and field when it's
That's
done
what
right.
Everyone always
when
says,
it's done right.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to be done right. We're in the hot heat. And so here's the scenario. If Angelo State finishes higher than 6th, they win. Doesn't matter if we win, if they get 6th and they have a team, they win.
Yeah.
So they line up. Excuse me. And everyone's all excited. And the announcer says, running out of lane 3, they've been in the top 5 7 years in a row, Angelo State out of Texas. Then move out, then there's Ashland. So during the meet of the 4x4, during the run of the 4x4, I'm watching our guys, and I keep looking where Angelo State is, and they're right on our tail.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I would watch them come in the last 100 meters, I would see our guys, and then I would look back, and Angelo State was 20 yards behind. And then they would catch up.
Right.
And then they were 20 yards behind. What they were doing was they were trying to do something they weren't capable of.
Right.
They were running the 4x4 by running the first 300 meters, balls to the wall, and they kept dying.
Yeah.
Right?
Probably something they've never done all year.
No, they've never run it like this. Right? They're eventually going to run 6 seconds slower than their seed time.
Wow.
We're going to run 2 seconds faster than our seed time. We finish 2nd, and it starts flashing up on the board. They're 7th.
Wow.
We win the national title by 1 point.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
There's no way we should have won.
Right.
No way we should have won. They had their worst 4x4 of the year. We had our best 4x4 of the year. We had guys like Alex Hill and Miles Pringle that weren't expected to score, who did. And then you just look at Trevor Bassett, the guy who couldn't help us indoor. He wins the 400 hurdles. He gets 2nd in the 110 hurdles. He scores 18 points and becomes the NCAA high point man of the meet.
Wow.
Scored more points at the national championship. As a sophomore, he had a huge chip on his shoulder after missing indoors.
Sure.
Didn't score
Something
a single
to
point
prove.
for us.
Yeah.
Something to prove.
Yep.
And so it was a storybook year. I was down in Texas. I was undergoing chemo, but had been okayed by my doctors to go. I was doing what they call cytarabine, which is a stomach injection. I was doing stomach injections and pills while I was there, and I would come home every night at 9 o'clock from the track, and I would collapse till 9 o'clock the next morning.
I bet.
12 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
I'd wake up at 9, I'd go eat breakfast, I'd go get some coffee, I'd start to, I don't want to use the word meditate, but I'd start to kind of like just do some deep breaths, belly breaths, and start to think about, I got to get my energy up for these kids. I can't show them that I'm exhausted. I can't show them that I'm tired. And we'd go out there and I would just kill it.
Yeah.
I mean, screaming, yelling, giving motivational talks. And so I remember before the 4x4, Ernie had me come over and talk to the team. And all year I had told them something that I had told Dr. Caraway is like, look, I'm not expecting this to be easy. I just need it to be possible.
Yeah.
Because the words that I'll have really trouble as an athlete is if you tell me it's just not possible anymore. So how hard it is,
Yep.
doesn't matter to me. You tell me it's possible, we'll do this.
Yeah.
And so this is the message that I had been talking to the team about all year, is that nothing about this defending the national title from indoors when we're ranked 6th in the country is going to be easy, but it's possible.
Yeah.
Right? So Ernie has me come over and talk to his 4x4, and I have no idea what I'm going to say. I never have any idea what I'm going to say.
Just going to go with it.
You and I have no prep for this podcast.
Right.
Brandon and Lily and I had no prep for his podcast. Just don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
Right? You just let it happen. So I'm looking at these guys, and I remembered listening to a guy by the name of Billy Mills, who won the 5,000 meters at the Olympic Games, American Indian, and he told a story about a guy by the name of Jeep Davis. And I'm telling the 4x4 this story, and I've used it before, but never with this group.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, Jeep Davis from Barberton, Ohio, is running the 4x4 for the United States. He's already won a gold medal in the 400 hurdles. And the United States drops the baton in the second leg.
Wow.
40 yards behind. By the time he gets the baton on the anchor leg, we're out of it. We're out of it for a medal. He takes off like he's running the 100 meters. And everyone's like, woo.
Yeah.
And he doesn't stop. And then he starts closing in, and they're like, oh my gosh, he could get top 5. We were 8th.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you know, we're coming up with 100 meters to go. There's 3rd place. There's the bronze medal right in front of us. And he ran with everything he had, and just like the Grand Valley Ashland finish,
Mm-hmm.
Jeep Davis dives at the line. They wait, it's a photo finish, and it comes up United States 4th.
Wow.
No medal.
Yeah.
They tell him in the press conference, they said, why would you run like that knowing you had no chance at getting a medal? And he said, why wouldn't I? At the time, the world record in the 400 meters was like 46:04. He ran 44:9.
Wow.
On the anchor leg of a 4x4 relay.
Yeah.
Basically broke the world record in the 400 meters when they were out of it, and they lose the medal. And he goes, simply this: what I had, I gave. What you save is lost forever. That's Jeep Davis.
I had no idea.
That's been on the back of T-shirts in Ashland track and field camps.
That's when you think of Ashland, that's what you think of.
Yeah.
My son said that the first time he came home from camp.
Yep.
The first thing he said when he got into the car. You know?
I tell the kids all the time. It's like, what you save, that's gone. It's lost forever.
Yeah.
So that's all I told my 4x4. I said, look, I don't know. This is your guy. This is Ernie. He's the one that's trained you guys all year. All I know is that when it gets hard and you think that, well, I'll just glide. If you try to save anything after that race is over, you're going to know you had a little bit more. I need 4 guys to tell me they had nothing left.
Yeah.
And we go out and run 3 seconds faster than we'd run the entire year. And 4 guys laid it on the line, and we got second, and we're national champions. Came in ranked 8th.
And what a lesson outside of track for everyone who's involved with that team later in life when they're having a horrible situation with their family or their wife or their job, and that they can look back on that and go, it was possible, and I gave it everything I fucking had, and I won, and I made it, you know?
So that's, on the back of our ring is built for this.
Yeah.
Around the ring on the top, it says, never easy, only possible. So these rings are going to be epic.
Love it.
They're going to be epic. And this is going to be something that, you know, first national champion in school, national championships in school history. We pulled 2 of them off, both of them unlikely, both by 1 point, in a year where the head coach gets cancer.
So there's a major amount of adversity, you know.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. And so we'll see if anything comes of it, but there's actually been some people from ESPN have reached out to my brother, that he met at an outing, and they're like, we're going to kind of sit on this for a little bit, but this has got an ESPN E60
written all over
it. Like, what you're telling me, you couldn't write.
Absolutely. And no one would believe it.
And no one would believe it.
No one would believe it.
Head coach who's been there 25 years.
Disney movie.
Never missed a meet in his life, and the team goes without him and wins.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. And so, you know, now, here's the good news, is that I'm 20 weeks now in remission. And this is the really hard part. This is the part that if people are listening and trying to hoping to get an update on where Jud Logan is with his health, I'm still getting chemo.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting chemo right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know I'm on chemo right now?
Oh, you got a pump?
I got a pump.
Yeah.
I got a pump that goes right through my IV, and it's going into my chest. I wear this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I wear it when I shower.
Yeah.
And so I was in the hospital for 3 days to make sure I didn't have any adverse reactions, called blinatumomab.
Okay.
And I'm on it for 21 days, and then they unhook me for 2 weeks, and then I come back to the hospital for 2 days. They monitor me again, and then they send me home for another 21 days. I get the bag changed every 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
I wear it in a fanny pack, which is great because they're back in style again.
Oh, yeah. Everyone.
And so, you know, I'm walking around with a fanny pack, and everyone goes, oh, my gosh, you look amazing. You know, I've heard you're, like, in remission. So what, no more chemo? And I'm like, yeah, I'm getting chemo right now as we sit here and talk.
Right.
And people are just blown away. I don't understand. You've been in remission for 20 weeks. Why would they keep putting poison in your body? And it goes back to, we're looking for permanent remission. It goes back to Dr. Caraway saying, you can have this lawn full of daisies. I'm sorry, a lawn full of the yellow weeds. Help me out. Dandelions. Yeah. And people are coming over, and your wife says, our yard looks terrible. You drop the thing down 1 inch, you mow your lawn, there's no dandelions, your yard looks amazing.
Mm-hmm.
3 days afterwards, after the party's over, the dandelions are back. So there's only one way to get dandelions dead. You got to get to the root of that, and you have to kill it with poison. And that takes a while. So that's where I'm at. Yes, I just had another bone marrow biopsy where they took basically a hand drill and a 3-inch drill bit, and they drilled through my hip down into my bone marrow, and then they thread a needle down there, and they take out bone marrow, and they run the test, because that's where leukemia manifests itself.
Right.
So I get the bone marrow test, and they come back. I'm on vacation in North Carolina, and I'm at a place called Purposely Marooned, which is owned by the head strength coach at the Carolina Panthers, Joe Ken. And so we had his place, and I put my chair down on the ocean. We put the umbrella up. My daughter, Kirsten's there, and she brings one of the grandchildren, Peyton, over, and then Jenna's going to come over later in the week. And the phone rings, and it's the Cleveland Clinic, and they're like, just wanted to give you the results of your bone marrow and your minimal residual disease test. You're 0.0. Congratulations. And, to me, if I have to do injections in my stomach, if I have to wear a pump around my body, as long as I'm 0.0, I got this.
Sure.
I got this.
Yeah.
If that phone call is cancer's back, and I've been doing chemo this whole time, I'm like, I'm a little worried. Right?
Yeah, right.
So people are like, well, how long are you going to be doing this? And I'm like, I don't know if I can give you an answer. All I know is that the trial I'm on is 15 to 18 months.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So end of February will be 12 months.
Right.
So we're looking at March, April, May, beginning of May as the earliest they would say, okay, you're still 0.00. We're going to start maintenance. See you in 3 months.
Right.
Unhook me from everything. See you in 3 months. Come get a bone marrow biopsy.
Here's what to look for.
Yes.
There's problems.
Yes. Yes. I still want you to go to Medina, so we can get a bloodline value on you, so we can see something coming. But you're not going to have to come to Cleveland Clinic for 3 months. 3 months later, you get a bone marrow biopsy. You're clean. See you in 3 months. Then it turns into see you in 6 months. Then it turns into see you once a year. That's where Adrian's at now.
Sure, right.
I mean, Hodgkin's lymphoma, that diagnosis was not good.
No.
Right?
I remember that night.
Yes.
Hearing about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, here we are, fast forward. I mean, how many years has that been? Almost 20? Is she almost 20 years cancer-free? She was here in 2002.
I was at the Celtic Classic in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. It was maybe like my 4th or 5th year as a pro.
It's got to be 2001.
It was 2001 because Adam Eltrich was the one who called me to tell me. He called me in tears my hotel phone. Somehow he got a hold of it.
So here we are 17, 18 years later, and Adrian's still cancer-free.
Yeah.
Still has to go to the oncologist.
Sure.
She still has to go to the oncologist because there's a chance the lymphoma could come back.
Yeah.
But she's cancer-free. She's a survivor. I want to be Adrian. Mm-hmm. Adrian her whole life says, I want to be you, coach.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I want to be you. I want to be 18 years from now telling people that I've been in permanent remission for 18 years like Adrian.
It's almost, until you said that, you forget about it.
You do.
It was such a huge deal,
Yeah. That's
incredible.
You look at pictures from the Olympic trials in 2004. She's got a puffy face. Mm-hmm. Her haircut is at her neckline.
Yeah.
And she's wearing a shirt that says, I kick cancer's ass.
Yep.
And she gets 5th at the Olympic trials. You want to talk about resolve.
Right.
You want to talk about and that was all Poliquin. Poliquin stepped in and pulled her away from what she was doing and started doing some different therapies with her that were, we're going to increase your vitamin C level. We're going to, you're going to start taking glutamine for inflammation.
Right.
So it was a very, natural path.
People forget what Poliquin was.
Oh,
he wasn't just a strength coach.
No.
He was some kind of genius.
He was
a
guru.
Something going on.
He was a guru. And so, that's my goal.
Yeah.
I want to be Adrian. I want to be 70 telling stories of the when I was 59 that I had cancer and now I'm 11 years in remission and I want to make it to her 18 and then we'll have a different conversation.
Right.
Yeah?
Right, yeah.
So, what a crazy year. I mean, we sat here and we talked about things that at the time seemed really important. And if I would go back and listen to that now probably pales in comparison to what just happened in this year.
The monumentalness of what you were going to do as opposed to what path you actually ended up on.
But isn't that life?
Yeah, I think that's the lesson you learn from it, is that you can plan all you want, but you're going to fight the battles that are put in front of you.
Absolutely. And, it's just, I've got a friend of mine that's going through cancer, and he's been amazing with me, and he's actually in remission and doing really well, but he lost his job. And with loss of job, he lost his insurance.
Oh, man.
And he was a teacher, and he's 66 years old. And so he's battling, and I told him, this is like what I said to him. I said, the road for you will eventually straighten. Sometimes it's really hard to see around the curves.
Yeah.
So you think about driving up through the mountains and someplace you've never been before, you can't see what's around the next curve. But then all of a sudden you come around the curve, and then there's this beautiful straightaway, like, what is it, Route 66, that runs the entire length of the ocean on the west coast.
PCH.
Yeah, whatever that is, and you got this straight shot, right? So I honestly believe with this guy that's something that's coming for him, but that
he's got to focus on the 20 feet in front of him.
You got to focus on the 20 feet in front of you, because you can't see around the curve.
Yeah.
The foliage is too high.
Yeah.
You can't see around it. And if you try to look too far around the curve, you're going to lose where you're at on the road now. And so sometimes you gotta just be patient for that view to change and for that road to straighten.
Yeah.
And I went through that as an athlete, lost Nike contracts, got Nike contracts. I've told you this before. There were years as a professional, semi-professional, I guess, athlete, we were getting money where through sponsorships and contracts and bonuses where I made $50,000 as a thrower. And then there were 2 years after that I was $9,000 in the hole.
Right. Yeah.
Lost sponsorship because it wasn't an Olympic year. Lost my Nike contract. Didn't get to Europe. Didn't go make that extra money. So that eventually, if you have a strong enough belief, I think the road straightens for everybody.
You got to keep grinding.
You got to keep grinding. I mean, that's just, it's so cliche, but it's so true. You got to keep grinding until the road straightens. Because when it does, the view's unbelievable.
Yeah, and we talked about, did you read Goggins' book?
Yeah.
About that? I mean, that's the whole point
of
that whole book. I just finished it.
Yeah.
And that's an inspiration, that you just got to keep pushing and keep fighting and don't give up. And it's right around that curve.
So many things against him.
Yeah.
So many medical issues with broken feet and all of that stuff that I'll tell you right now, I know for a fact that life would not have been for me.
Yeah.
My mindset is into what do I got to do mentally for the next 15 seconds to squat 705 for a double. Okay?
Yeah.
Everyone says, well, it's not really 15 seconds, is it? It's the preparation over time. But when I have to go from 92 to 100% and fire on all turbos, 15 seconds, I got this.
Yep. And all that prep to get to that 15 seconds.
Yes, I've got this.
Yep.
Tell me I've got to tread water.
Yeah.
For I don't think I could do it. I don't think my DNA. I don't think mentally I would ever have been cut out and ever been tough enough to be a SEAL, or even to be in the military and to do that high rep.
I'm trying right now to switch into more of that.
Yeah.
And it's super difficult when your whole life has been pick the stone up, see, get it to your shoulder real fast.
Right. You got to psych yourself up for 15 seconds and then bask in the jubilation.
Yeah.
But what about when you're talking about Hell Week?
Yeah.
And you're talking about
6 days of that.
Yeah, exactly. And they're trying to get you to quit.
Yeah.
All I've ever had in my life is positivity. From my father, who said, quit after the season's over if you don't like baseball.
Right.
But during the season, we talked about this on the last podcast.
Yeah.
Right now, let's go hit ground balls. I don't care that the balls hit you in the face 3 times. You're not going to learn to catch a ball until you learn to stay down on the ball.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to keep practicing. and you're going to give your coaches everything you have. Now, at the end of the year, we'll find something else, but give everything you got. And then I go to Al Schotterman, who coaches from the level of positivity, and then I coach for 25 years with the level of positivity.
Yeah.
To think that I could ever be in an environment where someone telling me daily, by the minute, by the hour, by the week, that I'm a piece of shit,
Right.
wouldn't work for me.
That's
I know there's people that would. Michelle Stark would have loved that. She could have fought through that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Michelle Stark.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Right.
Yeah. I was just writing something about this too, you know, coming down here and seeing the infinite positivity that is always being, and it goes from you to the other athletes, and then filters out, and it's all positive, as opposed, and it works. So there's all this success. And then when I visited Westside, and it's that mentality of, I just want to fucking kill him, and I just want to push him down, and I got to beat him, and it's more like a Bud's mentality down there, where you're trying to make the other guy quit.
It is.
There's a lot of success down there too, and just two different paths to get there. But I have never been down here where there was a negative. I don't remember a negative. Nobody talks shit.
Nope.
There's no gossip going on.
Well, I wouldn't say that every program in America has these little like inner squabbles.
Sure.
Within the
They're
team.
families. Yeah.
And it's more like the brother-sister thing. And, I think I've had to raise my voice to the point of that I literally scared the shit out of everyone on the team maybe twice in 25 years.
Yeah.
And holy smokes, did it send the message that lasted for years. I had 2 girls on the team that had taken to name calling.
Okay.
And so I brought them in my office, and they were both All-Americans. And I left the door open, and I sat them down over here, and I started talking. Then I started yelling. Then I started screaming. They could hear every single word.
Right.
They were both high scholarship females. Yeah. And I told them that I don't care if we suck for the next 5 years, I will not have this on my team. And I said, I'm so disappointed in you. I am so disappointed in you. And I'm never disappointed in anyone.
Yeah.
And they just started bawling.
Right.
Right? Problem
I think I would have teared up for sure.
Problem solved.
Yeah.
Because if you're that person that does that weekly, you lose your juice.
You get callous to it.
You do. But when Coach Logan raises his voice in practice and tells you that and that happens once every 3 weeks.
Right.
Just not happy with the level of the room. You know what? You guys work it out. I'm out of here. And I'll leave on a Thursday halfway through a weight room workout. Maybe every 3, 6, 10 weeks.
Right.
Might happen once.
Right.
I talk to my leaders and I go, how'd things go after I left? Oh, shit, coach.
Yeah.
No one said a word. They're said a word.
They're kids.
They just went to work.
Yeah.
And then I come back the next day and the kids are like this. What are we doing? Let's go.
Yeah.
And, it's like turns into this little mini meet for the next 24 hours.
Right,
People are like trying to get back on my good side.
Sure.
And, it's like I've told kids for years, I'm probably the best person in your life that you're ever going to meet that doesn't hold a grudge. Doesn't mean I didn't mean what I said when I said it, but you get to start over with me today.
Yeah.
And until I get burned, I'm going to give you enough rope. Don't hang yourself with it.
Yeah.
That's a Bill Gallagherism from back in the day, head coach.
Yep.
He says, the way I run my team, Judd, is I give the kids a lot of rope. They're adults. Some of them, eventually, because of that rope, they're going to try to take advantage of the situation. They're going to hang themselves. They're out of the program.
Yeah.
So I try to give my kids the respect that I don't have to be that tyrant in practice every day, because my seniors and my juniors let the incoming class know what's expected.
Sure.
Every kid in my program has a junior senior mentor. And I always tell my freshmen, I said, you go to your mentor first when you don't understand something. If you don't get the answer you want, you come see me. My office is open 24/7. 9 out of 10 times it is handled by the mentor.
Right.
And they don't even tell me about it because it's so trivial.
Mm-hmm.
But to them was a huge deal.
Sure. And if it would have been even more huge if they had to come to you.
Right.
I'm brand new and I got to go coach.
It's a 10 sets of 10 workout. On one set, they got 9. Or on the 5th rep, someone yelled at them for not getting depth in a squat. And they were trying their hardest, but they just couldn't get any lower.
Yeah.
And then the mentor will be like, oh, yeah, been there, done that. Maybe back the weight off next time.
Right.
Don't try to just showcase. Think about, coach said, pick a weight that you can do to depth, and that's the most important thing during this cycle.
Right.
Because later, he's going to ask you to put your foot on the gas. And if you're already putting your foot on the gas now trying to impress us, your foot's already down on the accelerator. How much faster can you go than what you're already going?
Yeah.
And then the rest of us are just doing work. So that's kind of the philosophy of the program. That's the philosophy of the network. That's the tradition of our program. We just lost Jim Toth, who officer candidate training school, Mackenzie Lee, who's going into accelerated nursing, Natalie Hellenthal, who already has a job, Elijah Talk graduated the year before and is an assistant coach in the program. Those were all great kids.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is the tradition never graduates.
Just reload.
The kids do.
Yeah.
Right? The kids do. But the tradition that they leave, Jim Toth just wrote me this unbelievable letter, 4 pages, handwritten. And in the letter he apologizes for not getting an All-American while he was here, even though he was a 2-year team captain. And I said to him that what he gave this team would have never won the national title without having a leader in the room.
Sure, yeah.
And you were that guy. You're the reason Alex Hill. You're the reason Brent Fairbanks. You're the reason Nick Zeg. Luckily, he qualified his senior year. He got to at least go compete and be in the show.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
But he never All-American. I go, hey, hands up. Neither did I.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
But, sometimes that leadership is more important than the number of All-Americans.
Well, and you have such a influence. Pape wrote you that letter, I remember, that he didn't appreciate what he had until he was out of it.
Yeah.
And it all came back to him. And I remember him telling me he was going to write that letter. And he was, that was no bullshit. It was like an epiphany. And it hit him. And he goes, I screwed up.
Yeah.
I had all this in front of me and I just didn't understand it. And I didn't appreciate it until now.
Yeah.
And
I did the same thing. We talked about on
Sure.
on the podcast. I was as close to a college alcoholic as you could have found, out Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday,
Right.
Saturday nights, until Schotterman came and got me square and got me in the right direction. I was just like, this is what college kids do. The drinking age was
Sure.
18. There was nobody monitoring me. I had the first taste of a little bit of freedom.
Yeah.
And then I graduate and realize I made it to one NCAA meet and I have no All-Americans. And now I got a guy telling me, give me the next 2 years of my life, put me on the Olympic team.
Right.
Right? So, so I get it. I got, Pape's letter resonated with me because I was that guy.
Yeah.
I was that guy. I never really appreciated the opportunity I had. But then, again, I went through 3 coaches in 4 years. And I went to college at 17 years old and never redshirted. So I never put myself in a position. I wish I'd have had a Jud Logan.
Sure.
For 5 years,
Right.
that would have said, we're going to redshirt you. You're too skinny. You're too weak. You threw the weight 37 feet as a freshman. Shame on you.
Yeah.
Right? I never had that until Schotterman got there. And so, it's not an excuse, but it was the 80s.
Yeah.
We didn't know any better.
Well, I always said that I wish you would have been here when I graduated high school because, first of all, the internet was just coming around, so you didn't know who was where.
Nope.
And you figured, well, any school has a good track and field program. They're going to have 65-foot shot putters. And, it would have... I never had that coach at any level of track and field. It would have been nice to, like when I look at Hayden now, and unless you rob a bank and kill all the tellers, he wants to go to Ashland.
Yeah.
It's just he wants to come throw for you.
Yep.
You made that impression at camp, and that's where he is. And I tell you what, when he came downstairs and asked us if you had cancer, that was a super emotional moment in that house.
Right on.
And you had to sit down and talk with him, and he's got tears in his eyes. And,
yeah.
And it was super rough. And when you look at the Logan Strong t-shirts and the Logan Strong workout,
Megan Tomei.
Yeah. And when all that happened, and you're getting, I'm guessing you had
zero clue.
But you had tons of people who is this person doing the Logan Strong workout for me?
Yeah.
One of the most emotional things that happened during this whole thing for me was Corey Engel, who goes to our gym, and her husband died a year, almost to the day that we found out about you, of leukemia. 27, 28-year-old woman. And I was friends with Bubba, and he died. And so I had done the Logan Strong workout the day before, and she saw it and decided she was going to do it. And I stopped the whole 10 a.m. class and set up a camera and just said, go. And that woman, who doesn't know you from anybody, left it all on the floor. And she had to lay on the ground for a half hour after that was done in just pools of sweat. And it was incredible.
There was video submissions from Bluffton College, their entire swim program.
Wow.
Every swimmer swimming.
Yeah.
Because one of my former throwers is the throws coach and her husband's the swim coach. And he put the entire swim team mid-season through Logan Strong.
Wow.
And then A.G. Kruger.
Sure.
He did it 3 days a week for 7 weeks.
Jeez.
He did Logan Strong 3 days a week for 7 weeks until I was in remission.
Jesus.
And, so I get so tired. I need to get a Roget's Thesaurus because I'm so tired of using the word humbled. But that's the only word that can truly reflect how I feel when I see things like that. Is just you're humbled at and the amount of gifts that I've received. Megan, this is incredible. I don't know how long this podcast is going to last, so I'm sorry to people that are still with us. But Megan, everyone knows I'm trying to write a book, Vetting Excellence, where we're going to talk about the light giver, the explorer, the gold standard, the developing a system of your own that makes others be where you want to be, and then meeting that person that can tie everything together with you, then mentoring someone else's dream, and now there's adversity. And so Megan Tomei graduates and she feels helpless that she's at Youngstown State now coaching in her first year, killing it, and she's like, I'm going to do a light giver shirt and I'm going to raise money. We're going to sell these shirts for $35.
Yeah. And
we're going to raise money, and it's all going to go to Coach Logan to help offset medical bills. His wife has had to miss a lot of work. There's always money due outside of insurance. I don't care how good your insurance is.
Yeah.
And so she calls Nike and gets a hold of a guy, and he goes, who are you again? Well, Lance Deal gave me your phone number. I reached out to Lance, and he said that maybe you might be the person. All I'm looking for is a deal on some shirts for a fundraiser. Yeah. He goes, we get these all the time. I don't know how you got my number. All right, pitch it.
Yeah.
She goes, yeah, well, it's for my coach, Jud Logan. He goes, wait, did you say Jud Logan? Yeah, he used to be one of our athletes. I was his name. Guy's name is John Capriotti in Nike. He goes, what do you want? She goes, dry fits. He goes, how many? She said 1,000. He goes, done. She goes, what do you mean done? He goes, free, done, shipped. You got it. Send me the sizes.
Yeah.
Thanks, Megan. Tell Jud, give him my best.
Yeah.
So now she starts off, she's got 1,000 black dry fit shirts. Well, now she's got to come up with a design. Well, she's a pretty good artist herself. She reaches out to Matt Vincent.
Yeah.
And says, Matt, you got this.
Well, she reached out to me first.
Did she go, you first?
I'm not set up to do this.
Yeah. So she gets in touch with Vincent. Vincent gets his best artists, and he says they want the word light giver, they want a hammer, they want some angel wings.
Yeah.
Coach Logan has always said, if you ever do a shirt, please do not put my name on it. It's got this little circle that just says JL on the bottom. And one of Matt's artists goes to work and draws this thing up that just like he would for Hate Brand.
Right.
And he makes this magnificent design. And then Bert Soren hears about it. Lane Titus out of Michigan, Paxton was with.
Oh yeah.
Was with us for a year, and one other person I'm forgetting. They said, "Let us handle the printing costs." So we got free artist, free shirts, free printing.
Yeah.
So Megan's got 1,000 Light Giver shirts she didn't pay a penny for. We're at the Ashland alumni meet, and they present me with one. And I'm looking at it for the first time, and I'm like, damn, that's a cool shirt.
Right.
I say, am I the only one that has one of these? And I look around, and there's 75 kids all wearing them.
Yeah.
And they had taken them off.
Yeah.
And they were all wearing them. They surprised me with them. And like Youngstown State, Akron, Kent, all of these teams all had purchased Light Giver shirts.
Yeah.
Full amounts. And it's been a godsend to my wife and I that Megan's done this. And, you know, people have contacted her through the Logan Strong Instagram. They contact me. I'm like, I don't have any of the shirts.
Right.
Right? I'm just the recipient of the profits.
Yeah.
So they get in touch with Megan through Logan Strong. And, you know, I think she's sold at least 600 shirts.
Wow.
And, you know, God bless her, because she's, like I said, she's one of those kids that was here with me 6 years, one of those kids that I promised that I'd treat like my daughter. And I say that to everyone, but then she ended up being like a daughter.
Yeah,
and
right.
So our relationship's unbelievable.
And if you want a shirt, get a hold of me or get a hold of Megan, and we'll put you in the right spot, because we still have 400 out there. So.
Yeah, and the quality of the shirts, I get blown away all the time. You know, here's Bert Soren from Soren X, and he's, of course, those guys are posting. Him and Brandon Lilly are posting a lot. Ingrid Markham, Matt Vincent. These guys are Instagram gurus.
Yeah,
right.
Yep. Insta famous.
Yep. And so they're posting all the time, and I'll be just scrolling through, and there's Matt Vincent working out in his Jud Logan Light Giver shirt. Yeah. Like, he could be like, oh, we got a shoot today, let me get a Hate Brand shirt on.
Yeah.
And Bert Soren, I've seen him wear his numerous times. Yeah. I've seen Brandon Lilly wears his quite a bit. And then all the other people that have reached out and purchased those shirts. And then there's this girl by the name of Megan Young.
Okay.
She's a cancer survivor, and she is a strength coach. Never met her before in my life. She comes up to speak at Summer Strong, and there's, I don't know how many people there, 700 people there, whatever. They're packed into this gym, and she's like, yeah, I want to give a shout out to Jud Logan. And right now we're going to start sending him a vibe, and they start clapping in unison.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just like, what just happened? I've never even met this woman before. She's a leukemia survivor. She's one of the top strength coaches in the United States. And she just, like, I'm like, people were there. They're like, the energy in the room of people who knew your struggle and what you were going through. And it takes this woman who you've never met to bring it to light to the group and, you know, do this tribute.
Sure. Because there's a lot of people in that room who know you already,
right?
That you've met and had dinner with and everything else.
Yeah.
You know?
So it's been amazing. The journey's been amazing in the fact that how many people have reached out. Let me know what you need. Tell me what you need. What can I do? And that's really, I mean, that's cool. But like right now, we're just in a really good place, and people just have to understand that 20 weeks in remission, I want it to be 20 years.
Yeah.
And to do that, I've got to finish out the study.
You got to listen to your coach.
I've got to listen to my coach.
Yeah.
Now's not the time to go, oh, I got this, and go rogue. So, feel very blessed with family. I feel very blessed that I had a daughter for whatever reason, had no idea. Switched her emphasis at the very last minute to work in oncology, to be able to explain these things to me, to have such an incredible staff at the Cleveland Clinic. And you know, I'm playing for a great team.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to literally become the best athlete and the best patient that they've ever had. That's my goal.
Yeah.
And so, see what the future brings.
Right. Well, fantastic, man. I'm so psyched to see that you're doing well, and 2 new grandbabies this year too.
Yes. You know,
to add to the roller coaster that this year has been.
Well, you know, I posted something, you know, when on my birthday I said, you know, in my 40s, I made my 4th Olympic team. In my 50s, I broke a world record. My kids were all in college working on their degree. And I had the kids had 4 grandparents. At 60, went down to 1 grandparent. My kids all have their masters, and I've gone from 0 to 5 grandkids.
Right.
So you just look at those 3 decades of years of how my life, going to the Olympics for a 4th time at age 41, breaking that world record, becoming head coach at Ashland University, Jill's parents living, my parents living, kids are in college. Now everyone has master's degrees. 5 grandkids, down to 1 grand. So there's always going to be this evolution where part of your scale of life is going to go up, but there's other parts that for there to be this new evolution of life, there has to be cessation of life, right? It has to happen.
Yeah.
It's the natural evolution. No one lives forever.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, we've lost 3 of our 4 grandparents, or the kids' grandparent, and, you know, my mom's the last survivor of, you know, that generation of people that were important in our life, and, you know, she's 88 years old.
Fell down the stairs.
Fell down, broke her hip.
Jeez.
Yes. And so we just had a family reunion this last weekend, and she was able to come over to Ashland, and she was in her glory.
Yeah,
just
right.
in her glory. And it may be the last opportunity she ever has to be around 25 members of people that have Logan blood in them.
Right.
But it was magnificent. But it's that circle of life.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you know, while one thing trends one way, the other one has to trend the other.
Yeah.
And that's really hard for some people to accept. And it's just, this is what I find is that it's just, it can't all trend upwards.
Right.
Right? It just,
yeah.
not everything in your life, and it's how you deal with that adversity. Losing a parent is very, very tough. But it's, you know, how you deal with that, how you glorify them, the memories that you have. And it's almost like something dies and then something replaces it.
Yeah.
That's a cycle of nature.
All energy, all, you know.
Yeah.
Carbon from a dying dwarf star, just
there you go,
coming together. In
You're holding
forms.
This, you know. Last night, Nate and Cheryl and the twins stopped over, and I'm holding this 6-week-old baby in my hands, and, you know, realizing that we've had 3 people pass in the last 5 years in our family, and to sit there and see a life just starting.
Yeah.
It's just so magnificent, but it can't all be upward trend.
Right.
And
what are they going to see in the next 80 years?
That's right. That's right. So
life shit.
Bless where we're at right now. Of course, everyone's going to want to know, well, Ashland, what are they going to do?
That was going to be my last question.
They finally won one, but Miles Pringle's gone. Superman's gone.
Right. If you don't know who Miles Pringle is, you need to look him up, too, because we talked about him a lot.
He's won 7 national titles in the 400 meters. He's a 7.2.5 high jumper. Scored points for us in the 200. He's always been the anchor cog on our 4x4. And so I think there's a lot of people out there that are probably writing us off. Like, Ashland had a window and it was Miles Jr. in senior year. Okay. They got it his senior year. They got 2, in fact. They probably should have had 3 or 4. They might be right. But trust me, this team is not going anywhere. We will not go to the national championships in Birmingham, Alabama this March as the favorite to win the national title. Do not count this team out.
It's possible.
It's possible. It's not going to be easy, but we're built for this.
Fuck yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me down. I think that's a perfect place to end this thing on. And, man, I'm psyched. I'm psyched how you've gotten it, not through this, but what you're doing with it and dealing with it. And the positivity, as always, is here. And, again, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Anytime, Mark.
All right, Coach. This has been The Refined Savage. See you.